So set the tool. I literally just want it below the nose cone, about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, right there's perfect. Okay, so now my piece is in place. I'm in rotary. I've set my tool. Now I've got to set my home. So there are a couple ways to do this. I can use the measure feature on here, or I can sort of use math and calculate the circumference. But typically, when you're doing a wine glass, you're only going like halfway around, right? If not less, because you want to be able to see the engraving just from the frontal view, right? So how do we calculate that? I've got a diameter. The circumference is pi times that diameter, right?
Right.
Right, so that's 3.14 times the 2.33.
Mm-hmm.
That's the width. So my plate size will be half of that.
Right.
So let me show you on our software how we're going to do that. I'm doing a new job now. So I'm going to click File and New. Save. Now let's just save this one. I'll call this one
You want me to move this?
Love Cake Topper. I'll just put it in Jobs. Save. When I go to File, New, my width and my height, right? My width is going to be, what did I say it was? 2.33 my diameter times pi. So I open up my calculator program.
Do you remember that from geometry? It's a pi.
Pi times the diameter.
Pi squared or
So
pi d.
looking at my calculator here, 2.33 times 3.14 is 7.31. So that's all the way around, right? 7.31.
So we divide it by 2.
Right. So I'm going to divide it by 2.
So it's only the front half.
3.65. Okay. So that would be half. So when I go here, my width is 3.65. Okay. My height is going to be, you know, whatever I want to engrave. So if I go back to my calipers, close them, press 0 to 0 out, and say I wanted to engrave, you know, right there, right? That much in plate height, right? That's 2.19. Let's just say 2.2 for argument's sake. 2.2. Okay. Now the other thing that's important here, we're not using a T-slot driver. T-slot is only for flat stuff. The cake toppers, the acrylic hearts, the cake knives, that's all T-slot. We're now using rotary. Okay? Glass engraving, right? So these are the settings. I choose rotary, it's glass engraving, or whatever, you know, you might have something that's metal and you're using diamond drag, but it's still rotary. My width is still my 3.65 that we calculated. My height is 2.2 because I measured it. But now, the origin selection is actually center-based. So let me click OK.
Versus going up on the
Versus
corner.
top left corner. So when I set home, I actually need to choose the center of that plate, right? So if I wanted to engrave, you know, just as an example, from here to here, right, from here to here, I want to move this in the center of that, right?
Is that something you eyeball, or is that something that...
There are two ways to do it.
Yeah.
Eyeballing it is going to be the easiest way to do it, right? So I move, you know, somewhere in between, you know, the midpoint, whatever looks good to me. I press set home. That sets that position as home, and it's center based, right? So I'm going to go 1.1 inches high and 1.1 inches low of that, and I'm going to go halfway around, right? The good thing about rotary is that before you put a mark on it, there's no reference. So, you know, anything is good at this point. I can set this in and be done with it. If I have a pre-engraved piece, then the reference matters. Okay, I'll just leave it at that because I want
see
to
what you mean.
stick with the basics. Okay. So now this table can also tilt to match the contour of the glass, right? In this case, it's flat. It's close to flat enough. I'm not going to worry about it. But if it's extreme, I may need to rotate this way because it only tilts like this. So I may need to tilt it to match and make it flat as possible. And I may need to set home on this side. The problem is this side is always the top, right? So if I were trying to engrave with it rotated like this, I would have to flip my image to match my orientation.
Reverse it.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So in this case, it's flat enough. We're good. I'm gonna go ahead and I've set my material. I've set my tool. I've set my home. The fourth step, which we haven't done so far in any of the training, is to set the surface. Okay? Because we're using a lighter pressure here, I need to set the surface. And to set the surface, I make sure jog mode is on. So I press that and light comes on. I'll jog down. Okay? And I always like to open this because gives me good. So now, I come down until I touch the glass. Then I look up here. Go ahead and zoom in right there. Okay. This knob right here, I want that, by default I'll start off halfway, right? And maybe a little less than half, right there. So that's the amount of pressure I'm applying to the glass, right? Down further would be a lot more pressure, and the problem is, because this is not perfectly flat, if I set it at a low point, when it moves across to a higher point, it's adding more pressure. And if it gets to the point where there's no spring play left, that's when it'll crack it, right? So keep that in mind.
So middle, just stay there.
I always start about halfway. Okay. Now, I'm still not done. I need to press this set surface button. I press set surface, and it tells me that I'm setting the surface. That's the function I'm in. Press enter to set. So I'm not done after just pressing the button. I need to press enter, and that lift indicates you did it properly, right? So set surface and enter to set. And if I feel like I did it wrong, I can always do it again. I can always come down
To the halfway point.
halfway point,
Hit enter.
set surface,
set
and then
surface,
enter. Okay, good. Now, my machine is set up. I've set my material. I'm in rotary mode. I've set my tool. I've set my home in the middle, and I've set my surface. Okay? I'm sort of going a little backwards on this one where I'm setting up the machine first and then I'm going to do the design, but that's fine. Okay, so the machine's